Welcome to this explainer where we're going to break down exactly how one company, TechRev, used a really sharp AI strategy to completely change the retail game. I mean, that's a huge question, right? How can one single idea totally transform an entire industry? Well, today, we're going to see how it's done by looking at the real-world story of a company that pulled it off. So let's dive in. So, our story kicks off with a company called TechRev. Now, they were a mid-sized retailer, not the biggest player on the block by any means, but they were smart, and they saw this huge opportunity that all their competitors were just missing. TechRev took a hard look at the market and spotted two major problems. First, customers were really starting to want shopping experiences that felt like they were made just for them. And second, on the business end of things, managing inventory was, frankly, a mess, super inefficient and expensive. That was their opening. So what did they do about it? Well, they didn't just run out and buy the first piece of software they saw. No, they were incredibly methodical. They actually built a comprehensive strategic plan to weave artificial intelligence into the very fabric of their company. And this was their playbook. It wasn't just some vague mission statement. It was a disciplined 7-step plan. You see, it starts with the basics, understanding the tech and knowing your competition. Then you get practical, planning a small-scale test, figuring out what success actually looks like, and getting the right tools. And finally, and this is the part so many companies get wrong, it focuses on the people, building up your team's skills and mastering these new ways of working. This playbook is really the secret to their success. This brings us to a really key part of their playbook, Step 2, analyzing the competition. Using classic business strategy, they figured out that AI wasn't just some shiny new toy. It was the key to completely changing their place in the market. They could go from being just another retailer to a tech-powered leader that offered something nobody else could. Okay, so the strategy is locked in. Now it's time to actually make it happen. This is the moment where the plan jumps off the page and into a real-world, high-stakes test. This is where the rubber meets the road. In true to their playbook, they started small and smart with a pilot program. In just a few select stores, they rolled out these AI-powered mobile apps and smart kiosks to give customers really cool, personalized recommendations. And behind the scenes, that same AI was hard at work, predicting exactly what inventory they needed and when. Look, an ambitious plan is great, but if you can't measure whether it's actually working, it's just a dream, right? TechRev knew they needed cold, hard data to prove this massive new project was actually paying off. And that brings us to Step 4 of their plan, defining success. They set up these crystal clear metrics. They were tracking customer satisfaction to see if shoppers were actually happier. They looked at inventory turnover to see if their supply chain was more efficient. And of course, they watched sales growth for the bottom line impact. Every single decision was driven by data. And here's a fantastic example of the real-world impact. Take a look at the inventory turnover rate. Basically, that's how fast you're selling stuff and replacing it. For a retailer, this is a massive deal. It's a core sign of business health. And the improvement here was huge. It was absolute proof that the AI was making their business leaner, faster, and more profitable. Now, to get the right tools for the job, that was Step 5 of their playbook. They made another really smart call. Instead of trying to build a whole complex AI system from scratch, they partnered up with a top-tier AI provider. Why reinvent the wheel, right? This let them focus on what they did best, getting it working seamlessly within their own stores. Okay, this is such a crucial point. You can have the best, most advanced tech in the world, but if your team isn't ready for it, if they don't know how to use it, or worse, don't want to use it, the whole project is basically doomed. TechRev totally got this, which brings us to the last steps of their playbook, building up the team and mastering the practices. They invested a ton in training their people on AI and data. But even more than that, they built a culture where people felt excited to come up with new ideas for how to use this amazing technology. So after all that careful planning, all that testing, and all that investment in their people, what was the final outcome? What did this revolution actually deliver? Well, the results were, simply put, a massive success. Customer satisfaction skyrocketed, inventory management became hyper-efficient, and all of that led directly to one thing: huge, game-changing growth for the company. They didn't just tinker around the edges, they solved the exact problems they first identified. This final quote from the study really nails it. TechRev's story is basically a masterclass in how to manage new technology, not just for the sake of having new tech, but to hit clear business goals and completely outmaneuver your competition. And that leaves us with one last really interesting thought. TechRev conquered retail, so which industry is next on the list for AI disruption? And maybe more importantly, who's going to have the vision and the discipline to be the next TechRev?